Welcome back to Imperator Rome Abridged. In the previous part, we had a superpower war. We took on Egypt, and while we lost loads of the battles, we won the war somehow. I think they just ran out of money or something. We ended up stealing a bunch of their territory in the peace treaty. This territory is now packed with other cultures. We already took on a load of cultures from Arabia, so our culture setup is just out of control. There's really no chance of giving the other cultures rights, because every single time you do it to an individual culture, everyone gets angry with you, you take a stability hit, your main culture loses its happiness. So we would completely destroy ourselves if we tried to give any rights to everyone. So what we're essentially going to do is just have a massive, miserable second-class population that will not have citizenship because it's too inconvenient. Maybe we'll do something about that in the long term. I'm now starting to get into this whole assimilation business. This is a process where we eventually decide that the minorities are Nubian enough to be counted in the Nubian culture group, which will then promote them to having higher happiness and free citizenship with no stability hit or anything like that. It just takes a really long time to do it. It's like each pop in each province is gradually converting over to being the ruling culture of your faction. But putting down these theatres will make it a bit faster, so I'm going to spend loads of money making theatres in frontline locations to sort that out. We can put temples down too to sort out religious differences, although that's not so bad because the Egyptian territories we took have our religion already for the most part. We do though have to deal with some of our territories going away for a while. Here we go again with another civil war. But it's pretty much the same deal as in the previous civil war, where the area that's revolted isn't the area where most of the number is located. So all we need to do is pop out our main Nubia levy, and that's most of our troops. We can then walk over and gradually reconquer our territory. There's nothing they can do, it's just a tedious process of doing it. This is where we need the map painter, just say, paint this area my color and let your guys do it. Someone did say in the comments you can automate your armies to do stuff. Still haven't looked into actually doing that. This would have been useful in this situation. Here's later on, when the war is over. So that was easy enough. It didn't do our war exhaustion any favors, but at least we're going to get the bounce back after the war, where you gain a load of stability and loyalty on all of your characters. I'm also still not quite sure what the best thing to do with this menu after the war is. Whether you should let the soldiers live or go with kill them all. I feel like letting them live seems better because you can use them again in your manpower pool, but then again I wasn't intending to fight anyone anytime soon, so maybe the other buffs would have been better. Who knows? Doesn't really matter in this case. What we're going to do now is cut to a while later. Here we are after our aggressive expansion has almost gone away, same with the war exhaustion. I was going to wait until it hit 0 to invade Egypt again, but you can see Egypt is currently going through a bit of a crisis. It seems they're occupied by Rome, and this sort of woke me up. I was like, well, if Rome's going to invade right next to us, we need to accelerate the invasion process ourselves and take territory before the Romans do. Egypt are also at war with loads of other factions. They probably don't have much money or many troops left alive, making this a great time for us to re-invade them. There's some drama going on in Greece where Egypt have a bit of a stake. That might have been stirring things up. You can see Rome are starting to take over everything as they are wont to do. It's kind of a race, this game. We need to become bigger than the other superpowers before they gobble up their neighbours. So those are going to be Rome, the Seleucids and the Mauryan Empire in India that we haven't really looked at, who are also gigantic. We have nearly half of Rome's population, so we're certainly in the running. Taking the rest of Egypt is clearly the first step to getting into this race properly. It takes a long time to get our troops up to the front line, ready to declare war on Egypt. And by that time, their wars have ended, which is a shame. It would be nice to invade while their armies are in Greece or something up to some shenanigans. The good news though is that Rome aren't here anymore, and they didn't take any territory in their recent peace treaty, or territory that's right next to me I should say. So Egypt is still here for the taking. Not completely ideal, but we're probably still going to have an advantage in this war, suffice to say. So we hit things off, and we invade in all kinds of places at once. No micro focus this time. I'm going to just go for it and assume that the enemy are sufficiently weak that we can just do this as fast as possible. They do still have like 2,000 pops though, so we can't completely underestimate them. And indeed we do see like 15,000 or 16,000 troops appear towards the center of their territory. We do have a stack of 30,000, so we just need to get them into position. But unfortunately my very foremost stack of 10,000 or so actually loses their first engagement really badly with the Egyptian force. Maybe their troops are just straight up better, or they have better techs and whatnot. Well, we're continuing the tradition of getting annihilated at first in our wars with Egypt. We can then bring in the 30k stack to clear things up. We're lucky because our king at the moment has really high martial skill and he commands automatically our biggest stack. So that 30k stack has a high level commander. They can just do whatever we need in this war. It's all about the positioning. There's some more annoying interruptions. They just will not stop. But the micro won't stop either. We dance around and manage to take out the two biggest enemy groups in the area. This half-dead mercenary army needs to be careful because that smaller enemy force with more morale might be able to beat them in a fight. But I'm also going to shadow them as they sneak off into our territory. Very dangerously, I'm not even looking over here at Arabia. And last time this caused me to lose many troops and not really push the front line at all. We're doing it the risky way now. We'll just hope that Egypt don't have a stack over there and they don't stop us. Well, things are going well in the center at least. Hopefully this is keeping the enemy's attention. Looks like Rome has an army wandering around in the territories here, highly suspicious. There was an engagement down the Nile where my big stack with low morale fought their small stack with big morale. And in the end, we won that battle, so that's how the numbers work out. Hard to predict whether that was always going to be the case. From here, we're pretty much golden. We've taken out the enemy's main armies. Now we've got lots of cities to occupy. They also have quite a few really high-level forts, like at Alexandria, that will take absolutely ages to capture. And this is going to present an issue because while I'm trying to do things like that, the enemy can do things like this. All of their small armies are still big enough to take random individual territories, so they just walk past the front line and are annoying in my back line instead, taking random territories that I'll have to go back and reoccupy myself to get the war score back up. My allies were pretty useful here with this suicide attack they made. They sacrificed a bunch of troops to go into a really unfavourable battle with the Egyptians. This proved useful though because it kept them still for a bit and allowed my big stack to come down and win a battle against them right after. And now we're in close pursuit of the other guys, so maybe we can take them out here. Thank you very much for the sacrifice. Here's us retaking some territory further down the Nile, and we'll push those enemies back up towards the Sinai area. Here's another important win further up the Nile against another reasonable stack of enemy troops, might have been mercenaries. But we're winning all over the place now. The era of losing battles to Egypt is finally over, and the era of winning wars will hopefully continue. This time a much more convincing looking win. We're even actually capturing Arabia this time and not getting suddenly killed off camera. Skipping now to a bit later. Well, they're still being annoying as we're capturing their big forts up north. Even smaller, even more annoying groups are once again sneaking down into our territory, and I have to go after them now with fewer troops because I have so much committed to doing those big sieges. This is going to continue throughout the entire war, of course. Sometimes enemy stacks completely die when you defeat them. Often they don't, they walk off somewhere, you forget where they are, or they get re-raised in some corner you haven't been to yet and then sneak off somewhere else. You know how it is. We're winning more battles though, losing troops to attrition because it's taking so long to occupy all of these forts. We're going to skip now though to the end of the war. I keep juggling the enemy's annoying troops, eventually juggling them into this corner here. We've got a really high war score. We can't really get it much higher because the enemy do have territory abroad that I would have to take to get 100 war score. But we don't need it because now I know that there's only so much you can take in a peace treaty anyway. And with our score, I'm able to get the maximum possible claim amount anyway, so we didn't need to pursue the war any further. Boom! We make some big territorial gains in the deal, including the Nile Delta and all of these super rich areas with Alexandria too, which comes with a special option. We can be nice to Alexandria to preserve legacies and such which makes us more popular. I'm going to be generally as nice as possible. I like to be a peaceful conqueror to try and keep some happiness up, but you get less money, and there are probably some other meta things I'm missing out on here. And we get another one from Memphis as well. Looks like that was special enough. That might have been their capital, can't quite remember. Or perhaps Alexandria was the capital. One of those two places. We've got them both, so I suppose that doesn't matter too much. Now here's a throwback. Ages ago I got locked into this mission to conquer parts of Arabia, but I couldn't do it because I was scared of Egypt. Well, here we are, finally advancing this mission slightly after I took some more territory. I need to conquer the other minor factions here to actually complete the mission objectives. We'll do that another time. I'm just going to wait for our war exhaustion to go away, and then go back to war with Egypt again, of course. We have a choice here about whether to be nice to Alexander's tomb, which I think I did choose to do because it increases your stability, and we are going to be losing a whole bunch of stability right now due to our massive aggressive expansion. Penalty. I decided to check now how our conquests have changed our population. We definitely got hundreds of extra pops by capturing that small area where all of the cities are. So we're now actually like half of Rome's size, but Rome also expanded a pretty similar amount during the time it took to conduct that war. Obviously, Rome's going to have the number to do whatever they want, so they can keep expanding, I can keep expanding. It really is going to be a race. The Seleucids are ahead of both of us right now with over 7,000 pops. We can catch up a bit. There are 700 or so pops still on the table if we take down the rest of Egypt. That's pretty much a guaranteed thing. Again, it's just a case of waiting for our aggressive expansion to go away so that we have less instability while we do it. During the delay, we can spend a lot of money making the Pharos Lighthouse a new wonder in Alexandria. Or I would be able to, but this random thing happening takes away some of my money, unfortunately. So after dealing with that, I waited a while for the money to come back and then went back to building this giant lighthouse. The wonders will have special effects on your faction. This one is something to do with naval activities. I don't remember the details, but one thing it does do is increase the loyalty of all of your admirals, and that's pretty useful because having less power base potentially be against you in a civil war is great. It may prevent a civil war. So after a long time and a bunch of expense, we'll have that special lighthouse good to go. We'll also be slapping down more theatres and temples and the like for more conversions among our new population, which is nowhere near being done. We can speed up the process though by sacrificing some stability on the laws screen to take this cultural dissemination law, the first time I've changed the laws in this game. This will accelerate the assimilation process, maybe. It's a bit hard to totally keep track of. It's happening in a sub-menu of the region menu that appears when you click on a place. And you get this other spreadsheet simulator with more stuff going on in here as people convert to your culture and religion. There's also class changes with people becoming slaves or stop becoming slaves, things like that. And there's population growth and emigration to worry about as well. It's all go in here. And there's a different one of those for every single tile in your empire if you really want to keep track of it. In other words, you can't keep track of it. One thing I am going to do though, towards the end of the aggressive expansion cool-off period, is pop this cultural integration. I decided to integrate the major Egyptian culture because we have loads of their population, and by doing so, I'll be able to create quite big armies from the levy of Egypt. This means we'll be powerful, so while it would be better in the extreme long run to wait for all of Egypt to eventually become Nubians, if we just let them be citizens for now, we can use them as troops, and that might be useful. You can see I've also started making another big navy. We're so rich, we should have a big navy just to show off. I don't have a particular use for a navy, but I felt like I should make one anyway, apparently. What we need to actually do is invade Egypt again, of course. And here it is happening. It was made extra easy by the fact that Egypt fell into a civil war just as I was ready to attack. So at first we're actually fighting the Egyptian revolt, but Egypt gets thrown in as well. Now it's time for a test. Will the first battle of this war be a defeat? It's a 2,000 on 2,000 struggle somewhere in the west of our territory. We do have a slight advantage because our commander has a slightly higher number than theirs, As a result, we do win that battle. The tradition has been bucked. Maybe we can win this war nice and easy. Well, I say maybe, we definitely can, because there's absolutely nothing the enemy can do. Therefore, here we are, after the war, just clicking on all the stuff I want, which is all of it, and boom, all of Egypt, around us at least, is taken. They're still going to have their foreign territories. We can actually make things a tiny bit more annoying for them by forcing them to lose their Trojan territory to a liberation. They'll keep just Sparta. It's going to be the end of Egypt, effectively. All of their stuff is ours. I'm sure the Romans will just kill them at some point, or one of their Greek neighbours, and that will be that. We still have a few patches of territory inside our Arabian conquests to take. That means I actually can't progress our Conquer Arabia mission, despite conquering a bunch of it just there. Here was something else we could potentially do. We can form Egypt. We could become Egypt ourselves. We've already met all of the conditions. However, because Egypt still exists, we can't become Egypt yet. So that's an option to be Egypt 2.0. I don't really want to do that because it stops the Meroites being your core culture, and that's going to undo all of the assimilation we've done so far. Well, I'll look into it more if Egypt does die. What I need to do next is conquer all of the tiny factions that exist in Arabia so I can complete that mission, basically. We don't really need to do that, but I want to just for neatness anyway. Therefore, we'll get into that at the start of the next part. Should be nice and easy. And after that, well, we need to look further afield and start taking our rivalries with Rome and the Seleucids more seriously.